Imagine this. 381 Navy SEALs, trapped in a valley. Ammo running dry. Enemy closing in from every ridge. Command had already started writing the loss report. But in that moment, when every rule said stand down, one young pilot refused to accept defeat. What if I told you one 26-year-old woman, in a plane everyone called obsolete, just rewrote the rules of war and brought every single man home alive? Today on Veterans Tales Stories, this is the true story of Captain Delaney Thomas. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from right now? I love seeing our Veterans Tales Stories family spread across the world. 381 Navy SEALs were trapped in a valley that had turned into a killbox. Helicopters couldn't get in. F-16s couldn't shoot danger close. Command quietly began to draft the loss report. One person refused to accept it. Captain Delaney Thomas, age 26, A-10 Thunderbolt 2 pilot, Irish-born, and too emotional, according to the men who kept her on logistics duty. She was small beside her Warthog, but she knew the airframe better than anyone on base. The A-10's 30mm GU-8 could write its name in steel. In the right hands, it could thread a needle at 50 meters. They said she didn't have the hands. At 6:30 in the morning, the flight line baked under Afghan sun. Major Sanderson told her again, "You're not flying today. Formation work with the new kids. I need steady leadership." Translation, not you. Delaney swallowed the burn, nodded, and kept working. She'd already spent months doing what nobody asked: night sims, terrain studies, ballistic tables memorized cold, posto basics for radio sanity checks, and manual backup math in case the targeting pod died. She'd mapped valleys and ridgelines and circled boxes where air support doctrine simply failed. No one wanted her analysis. She kept studying anyway. In a briefing, she asked a single question. What if this movement isn't prep, but a trap designed to isolate us where air can't help? "Track equipment, Captain," came the answer. So she did. And at night, she ran the same scenario again and again in a locked simulator she'd quietly taught herself to access. Friendlies surrounded, missiles in the hills, danger close all around. She practiced killing the SAMs without breaking off the run. Practiced laying a scalpel of 30mm between friendly strobes and hostile muzzle flashes. 47 iterations, each tighter than the last. At 1:47 in the afternoon, the base siren cut through routine. Screens filled with the Karengal-style valley she knew by heart. Radio, SEAL Team 7 and detachments, 381 total, surrounded by 800 fighters. 2 confirmed SAM sites, enemy on 3 ridgelines. Friendlies in a natural bowl. F-16s 15 to 25 minutes out. Their rules, no shots within 100 meters of friendly strobes. The SEALs had enemies at 50. Sanderson asked for options. The room offered doctrine. Delaney offered the A-10. "Denied," said Sanderson. "We're not risking an untested pilot." A comms tech cut in. "SEALs report 30 minutes of ammo left." Time ended the debate. Doctrine didn't. Delaney stepped out, counted 30 seconds in the hall, and did the math. 10 minutes from locker to wheels up. 12 to the valley. That left a knife-edge window. She wrote a one-line postscript to the letter she'd kept for months. "If you're reading this, I acted because 381 Americans were dying while paperwork argued with itself." Then she suited up. Aircraft 297 was already fueled and armed. Full drum of 30mm, Mavericks, rockets. She moved like muscle memory set to fast forward.
Oil, hydraulics, Schaff, Flares, Pot, ins.
90 seconds later, the hog was breathing. On tower frequency, she said nothing. On guard, she said everything. Any station, Thunderbolt 7 departing Kandahar, inbound Karengal, 381 Americans about to be overrun. Breaking rules to save them. Wheels up at 2:23 in the afternoon. Here's where it gets insane, listen close. Radio from the valley was going ragged. The SEAL Ground Force commander, Trident Actual, kept it tight, but the cadence betrayed the count, magazines running dry. F-16 lead checked in, visual on target area. Unable to engage within 100 meters. Too danger close. Delaney keyed up. Trident actual. Thunderbolt 7. Mark your position, IR. I'll work your edge. Silence, then hope. Thunderbolt 7. Confirm danger, close authority. I'm authorized to save Americans. Designate. As the bowl opened beneath her, the picture was exactly as she'd drawn it in red pencil at 3 a.m. 3 ridgelines, overlapping arcs. Machine guns on the east chewing craters into the SEAL position. She killed the first gun with a 2-second burst. Dust blossomed. Fire stopped.
Roll.
Pull. Second run. Enemy assault team on the north slope, 70 meters from friendlies. Short stitch across the rock. Movement stopped. No blue strobes in the beaten zone. Thunderbolt 7, solid hits. Trident actual called. Western Ridge, 75 meters. 75 was where jets got people killed. It was where the hog lived. She broke left into a steep slice, lined the reticle just below a rock lip, and pressed a half-second burst that printed a straight line of tungsten between friendly strobes and hostile muzzle flashes. The valley paused. Everyone down there realizing an A-10 had just put rounds inside a zone nobody touched. Kandahar to Thunderbolt 7. Sanderson's voice cracked in her ear. Return to base immediately. You are not authorized. She flipped the command net quiet and left only CAS and ground frequencies alive. She was past permission. Trident actual continued designations. She worked the playbook she'd written in secret. Kill the air defenses first. A Maverick into a hot SAM site on the southern spur. Then terrain mask behind a ridge to break the other site's lock. Open a lane. Stitch the ridgeline positions that anchored the crossfires. Not the ones that look meanest on the scope. Keep the gun short. Half-second taps. No hero strings. Let the dust hide friendlies. Let the sound collapse the assault's morale. Talk ground, Trident. Push 3 teams west under my fire. Stay below the rock lip. I'm walking rounds uphill ahead of you. Within minutes, the radio cadence shifted. Less panic, more verbs. Moving. Set. Next bound. In the op center, radar tracked a single A-10 carving armored Zs in a valley of red icons. F-16 lead came up, observing A-10 placing rounds inside 25 meters of friendlies. Either suicidal or surgical. So far, surgical. People who'd mocked Delaney went very quiet. Delaney's third pass erased the second SAM with a pop-up Maverick from behind terrain. Now helicopters could start thinking. First, the exit cut. She talked Trident actual onto a seam she'd seen in satellite photos months ago. A shallow fold on the west ridge no one would pick from overhead unless they'd walked the topo lines by hand. Thunderbolt 7, that fold is real. We can move in it. Do it. I'll rake the high points 50 meters ahead of you. 30mm thudded like a giant zipper closing across stone. Enemy fire stuttered, then stopped. The SEALs bounded. For the first time all day, blue icons moved. An enemy element tried to roll the corridor from above 50, then 40 meters. Delaney flattened the dive, brought the pipper low, and pulsed a 3/4-second burst that shaved the ridge like a carpenter's plane, chips of rock. Then stillness. Good effect, Trident actual said, breathless but steady. We're at the mouth. 2 more positions on the far lip. Mark with sparkle, she said. A bright IR winked, and she split it by a body length. No friendlies hit. She kept flying lazy S-turns high and wide until the last rotor was a dot and the corridor had closed itself behind them like a healed wound. On the way home she took stock, fuel fine, 1 Maverick left, gun drum light, flares low, hands steady, mind clear. She flipped the command net back on. Kandahar, Thunderbolt 7 RTB. Silence. Then Sanderson. Controlled. Unreadable. Thunderbolt 7 cleared direct. Touchdown was smooth. Taxi slow. Shut down by the book. She pulled the canopy release and let the base's heat and the crowd's noise climb in. They were on their feet on the line, maintainers, ammo troops, medics, clerks, pilots, cops, the chow hall crew. Not a pep rally, something older than that. Respect in its raw form. Delaney climbed down. Sanderson waited with the Inspector General and half the senior staff. She stood at attention, ready for whatever came. You departed without authorization, Sanderson said, voice carrying. You violated orders. You engaged at ranges that exceed every comfort zone we've written. Yes, sir. You also brought home 381 Americans without a single friendly killed during the movement. A long breath. Then, Captain Thomas, you will answer for your decisions. But today, the only thing you'll answer is a question. Can you teach exactly how you did that? Yes, sir. Good. We're going to write it down so the next pilot doesn't have to learn it at 3 a.m. in a locked simulator. 6 months later, the patch on her shoulder said what she'd built. Close air support development. She taught from first principles. Read the ground like a book. Every fold a word. Every ridge a sentence. Every valley a paragraph. If you can't recite it from 12 angles, you don't know it. Gun discipline, taps not streams. Let dust be your smoke, not your blindfold. Kill the right nodes. The shooter that anchors a crossfire is worth 10 in the open. Talk ground, not ego. Say only what moves a team 10 meters closer to living. Pilots who used to smirk took notes. Pilots who used to lecture asked questions. The Marines sent their JTACs. The Army sent their aviation reps. Special Operations sent the men who had been there to sit in the front row and annotate the beats. An awards formation came and went, quiet citations, a ribbon or two, nothing gaudy. The consequence on paper was a reprimand for the unauthorized launch. The consequence in practice was responsibility, real responsibility. Sanderson found her by the Sim Bay after. I was wrong about you, he said without hedging. I saw risk where there was preparation. That's on me. Delaney didn't gloat. I was out of lane. That's on me. Then let's redraw the lanes where they should have been. It was the closest thing either of them would call peace. An analyst pinned the number on a wall because some truths should be physical. 381 extracted. 0 friendly Kia during movement. People touched it when they walked past, the way you touch a relic without saying a prayer. Delaney avoided that hallway when she could, not out of modesty, out of accuracy. Plenty of days the math would have rolled the other way. Skill mattered. So did timing. So did luck. So did men on the ground who refused to break under a sky that had just told them no. Doctrine shifted by inches, the only way big systems move. Minimum engagement distances became guidelines with context, not commandments without brains. New lieutenants arrived wide-eyed, proud of their patches and eager to be told what mattered. Delaney gave them the same line every class. Technology is a promise, not a plan. The plan is you. Learn the ground. Learn the gun. Learn the people on the net. Then when a valley asks a question nobody wants to answer, you'll have one ready that keeps Americans alive. One evening much later, she taxied back after another training hop and cut the engines. The line crew chief, grease on his sleeve, sun etched into his grin, looked up and said what needed saying once and never again. Ma'am, it's good to know if we ever get pinned bad. You've already been where the map stops. Delaney smiled. The map never stops, she said. Sometimes someone just has to draw the next line. And that Veterans Tales Stories family was the point. Not that one pilot broke rules. That one pilot proved the rule beneath all the others. When lives hang in the balance, skill married to courage can turn a tomb back into a road home. 381 Americans went home because one pilot refused to quit. If the story moved you, drop a salute in the comments below. This is Veterans Tales Stories, where we never forget those who serve. Subscribe for more true stories of valor and sacrifice. Until next time, stay strong, stay proud, and keep the faith.